The night my life changed forever began with steam rising off the hot tub and my heart pounding louder than the music inside the house. I stepped into the glowing water thinking I needed a moment of quiet, but the universe had different plans. Because the second my skin touched the heat, she lifted her eyes, soft, shimmering, knowing, and everything I had ever believed about myself cracked open under the weight of that look. My breath caught. My world stalled. And in that suspended heartbeat, I felt something awaken inside me, something I had spent years burying under routine, expectations, and fear. I didn't know it then, but my lesbian story started in that exact moment, in that hot tub, at a party I didn't even want to attend. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us how human we really are, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support truly keeps these stories alive. I had arrived at the party already exhausted, from work, from being the emotional glue in my friend circle, from pretending every day that I was fine. 35 years old, divorced for 3, and drifting through life like someone waiting for a sign that never came. My friends always told me I needed to get out more, but social spaces felt like tight shoes I kept forcing myself into. That night, I agreed to go only because saying no felt even heavier. Inside the house, laughter rang from every corner, lights flashed, and everyone seemed radiant in their own freedom. But I felt disconnected, like I was watching life through a window. That's when I slipped outside to escape the noise. Steam swirled from the hot tub, glowing under string lights, inviting me with its quiet. I thought I'd be alone. But she was already there. Her name was Maya. I didn't know it then, I only knew she had this calm presence that wrapped around her like warm air. She was leaning against the side of the tub, eyes closed, hair wet and shining under the lights. I froze for a moment, not wanting to disturb her, but she sensed me and opened her eyes. There was no startle, no judgment, just recognition, like she had been waiting for me. Something in her gaze softened the edges of my anxiety. I slipped into the water at the opposite end, trying not to stare, yet unable to stop noticing her. The curve of her smile, the quiet strength in her posture, the ease with which she occupied space, like she belonged, like she knew who she was. I envied that so deeply it surprised me. I had spent years molding myself into who others needed me to be, a wife, a daughter, a responsible one, a woman who didn't question too much. But something about Maya's presence made me aware of a truth I had ignored for far too long. I didn't know myself at all for a while, we simply existed in that warm stillness. The muffled bass of the party thrummed through the walls, but the world around us felt muted, distant, safe. It was strange, how comforting silence could feel with someone you had just met. I felt my shoulders relax for the first time in weeks. As the minutes passed, I found myself reflecting on the patterns of my life, the relationships that had felt like mismatched puzzle pieces, the loneliness I carried even when I wasn't alone, the way I avoided mirrors not because I disliked my reflection, but because it reminded me of a life lived halfway. And then there was Maya, a stranger whose presence made me feel more seen than years of companionship ever had. The water shimmered between us, lit golden and soft. When she shifted closer, not touching, just closing the distance by an inch or two, something inside me fluttered, fear, curiosity, recognition, longing, all crashing together like waves. I didn't understand it yet, but it felt both terrifying and right. Like my soul exhaled. As we sat there, I felt emotions bubbling up, ones I had pushed aside for too long. All the suppressed questions I never had the courage to ask myself. Why did my heart always flutter around certain women? Why had I felt disconnected in every relationship with men? Why did I feel more myself in this moment with a stranger than I ever had with someone I loved? The truth scared me. It whispered at the edges of my mind, trying to break free, and I tried to push it back down. But the warmth of the water and the gentleness of her eyes made hiding feel impossible. Though we barely exchanged a word, something passed between us, quiet and transformative. She gave me a small, knowing smile. And that was the beginning, the first spark of an awakening I didn't know I desperately needed. The rest of the night moved in a blur. People came in and out of the hot tub, but I remained anchored in that early moment. When Maya eventually stepped out of the water, wrapped in a towel, and gave me one last look before walking back into the house, my heart followed her even as I stayed seated. I didn't know if I'd ever see her again, and that uncertainty burned strangely, deeply. Days passed after the party, each one revealing cracks in the facade I had built around myself. I replayed the moment in the hot tub over and over, the way she saw me, the way I felt around her, the strange sense of peace that had washed through me.